Army Corps representatives who work with us in the western portion of the United States. And they've been very supportive for the past 8 years now. And I believe this is our third general, Lupe?
I don't know. It probably seems like our fourth general.
Our third or fourth general. And we've been joined by Constable Tom Labonte, the Honorable Labonte. All right. I'm glad you made it. So with that presentation, we had the ability to overview our progress with the Army Corps, our ask in getting the studies completed. And we're hoping that by getting their portion of the project completed, we can actually understand how the hydrology works. We can break the cement and other strategic issues that we need to have in front of us. So it was a very special day, and I want to thank Public Works and all the city family, the CRA, everyone that was there that day, our River Corporation representatives as well. They got a sneak preview of Omar. And so I want to just thank everybody for being there and your support. Councilor Labonte, any comments before we get going?
No, the only thing we'll have to leave rather soon, but I wondered if there's any voting items. The big help I need with this committee is in the future months. There's a plan for Universal. I want to make sure the bikeway gets on the river, and I see our planning department smile, but it's a big value of mine as opposed to having it detour through the site development. But it's real key that we try to get along the river so it goes all the way out. This plan would go from Barham and Forest Lawn on the southern side of the river on existing county right-of-way. And then they would also, once they got to Lancashire, probably have to bridge up to Lancashire. Because of a studio that is split on either side, it would have to be dealt with. But right. I just wanted to let you know that's happening. Great. And I need your help. And there's Dr. Armstrong, so we're ready to go.
All right. That being said, have the first item presented, please.
Sure. Item number 1, verbal presentation relative to the National Park Service Trail Project in Los Angeles.
Okay, and we have with us, come on up, sir. Please introduce yourself.
Yes, thank you. My name is Patrick Johnston. I'm with the National Park Service. Thank you for the time today.
Well, thank you for your hard work.
On the Cornfield Arroyo Seco Neighborhood Trails Project. This is a project that I know that Councilman Reyes is familiar with a little bit, so I'm just going to go through, provide an update of where we've come with this project and hopefully where we're headed. So this is a project that is the result of a partnership between the City of LA Planning Department, the National Park Service, and the Arroyo Seco Academy of Franklin High School. The goal of this project was to look at improving and promoting walkability and bikeability within and around the CASP area as you all go through the specific planning process. One of the prime objectives of the project was to engage local youth organizations and schools, which is why we partnered with Franklin High School and the Arroyo Seco Academy. And what we've done, starting out in the winter of spring of last year, was really about defining the project and the partnership. Once we identified a key partner at the Arroyo Seco Academy, we spent the summer developing curriculum with the Academy faculty that would integrate with their studies and allow them to work on this project at the same time. In the fall, we began project orientation and site visits with the students. Councilmember Reyes was there at the start, the LA River Center, orienting the students to the area, getting presentations from the LA State Historic Park staff, participating in walkability assessments of the area, and also hearing about the local history from, this is UCLA professor Fabian Wagmister, who the students were able to meet with that day as well. We continued that. Some of the students were able to participate in some of the community meetings around the CASP project. This is the one that happened in October with the CRA. And a couple of our students even got a little bit of training and an opportunity to facilitate some of the breakout groups where they were asking the community members about the CASP area and the concept of urban trails and what that would look like and what areas are important to them. Some of the students working with the group there got a chance to present that day. And then in December last month, the group really put together their trail plan and delivered a preliminary presentation to family and faculty at the academy, presenting both on their laptops and old-fashioned boards. And what they came up with was quite an impressive urban trail plan, essentially identifying trails and destinations, points of interest, themed routes and linkages, historical and cultural connections, all within and around the concept of the LA State Historic Park as the CASP area community trailhead. And so this was an important moment when the students sort of identified the State Historic Park as a key feature and as a unifying feature for this area and even beyond. They punched in and out of the CASP boundaries, which I think is good, and they made some important connections with local history, architecture. Some of them developed food trails, linkages to community recreation and schools, opportunities for commuting, and so forth. These are some of the identified community destinations. I should say that when this list was put together and when that compilation map that's in the background of the slide was put together, this was from their preliminary presentation. And actually, yes.
One thing, I saw you had Nick's Cafe, but you got to have Felipe's if you got Nick's.
Yes, I agree. And the students did identify Felipe's. It was probably an oversight of mine on the map. One of the things is tonight, in terms of next steps moving forward, the students are giving their final presentation at Franklin High School tonight. And these maps have been refined and worked further. And Claire Bone and I hope to get the digital maps that the students have put together to compile all of their work accurately. But really moving forward, we've began to have talks with the LA State Historic Park staff and looking at ways that we can GPS inventory this trail plan and incorporate it into the mapping efforts that the state parks has undertaken through UCLA and Professor Fabian Wagmister. And then in terms of long-term next steps, actually looking at this as a trail plan and implementation, have to look at trail route enhancements, the development of physical trail maps, signage and wayfinding, public outreach and awareness. And I think there's an exciting opportunity here to look at a public health component as well, where you look at these trails as opportunities for the residents of the CASP and outside the CASP communities to identify routes that they can take and identify exercise that they can get walking, biking on these specific routes. And that's, I think, could be a real boon to this community. So those are some of the steps looking forward. And again, I just wanted to thank you for the time to give this quick update and answer any questions that you may have.
I want to thank you. It allows our students to see their neighborhood from a different light in terms of the historic significance, but also to start putting value in terms of their destinations. Many of the youngsters don't feel that many people know about their neighborhoods, and those who drive through it is just a lot of cement and asphalt and old buildings, but there's actually historic fabric, and for them this is their home, and to be able to delineate that in such a way where you have real destinations is I think, in many ways, speaks to the notion of self-esteem, and that is very important for the youngsters in the area. In terms of biking and historic trails, is this information we can relate to our DOT, Department of Transportation, and planning in terms of looking at destinations, and from that point of view, is it urban trail?
Yeah, I think it's something that, in moving forward, tonight's the presentation where the students are really going to have finalized what they see as their urban trails project. And I think what we want to do, we meaning Claire and myself and State Historic Park staff, is really take that information and find out and identify what are those next steps. And those biking routes, I didn't indicate it here on the map, but Some of the students very specifically identified biking routes versus hiking and walking routes.
Gotcha.
And so, yes, the next steps would need to include working with Transportation Department and figuring out how those can be incorporated, those destinations.
One of the last points I want to make is I sit on an advisory group for the National Park Service, and they're setting up their guidelines and their parameters for, is it a 100-year plan or the 100-year plan? And one of the assertions I'm making as a representative who lives and represents the urban core of a major city is the notion of connectivity to these national parks through historic trails that actually reach the inner cities throughout our country. And I'm assuming this might be a microcosm of how we can begin those first legs, if you will, those first links that come from the urban core that allows families to understand there's a connectivity to the national park system, that there's a destination there, and along the way we can create corridors that are green, that can buffer freeways, that can create the kinds of tree lining and landscaping that speaks to how we can walk or bike to these places, as far as they may be, but part of a whole system throughout the country. And is that something that I can work with you on in terms of establishing the historic connectivity that we once had with these national park systems?
Absolutely. And I think one of the advantages that this area has is the fact that the Anza National Historic Trail does traverse right through the CASP and hits that northern tip on the outline of the CASP area is the LA River Center, and that's one of the areas identified along the historic path. And so and it's something that we can absolutely look at. And
So tonight we might see the Anza Trail on this map?
Possibly. The students were definitely, I gave them a little primer on that when they were out in the field, so
Okay.
we'll see how much they picked up.
Okay. Councilmember?
Just very good report, and as Mr. Reyes said, extended all the way up Arroyo through Pasadena, through JPL to Angeles. We're fortunate to have Angeles.
Yes.
And I think if we put the word Los in front of it, Los Angeles National Forest, it really is. But for whatever reason, they dropped it. Maybe Pasadena blocked it when they named it. But the Angeles National
That's
Forest,
rumors
San
again.
Bernardino, Cleveland National Forest, Los Padres, ours in Vista View from Mount Hollywood and Griffith Park, and the National Recreation Area of Santa Monica. So there's a lot that we have to let people get to know. Is a very good program, too. Thank you.
You're welcome.
Mr. Reyes, my deputy, Mary Rodriguez, will be here for the
Okay.
remainder of the meeting. I'm going to partake in district matters.
Thank you,
I
sir.
want to stop by
I
and thank
appreciate you
everybody
being
for
here.
your.
Thank you for your support, Councilmember. So tonight is at Franklin High School, right? Yes. Okay, and what time is that?
5 to 7.
5 to 7. Okay, so those who are listening or those who are here, we can hear from our young people at that time. So thank you so much. Okay, so that was a staff and presentation report. There's no action taken on this item. Item number 2.
Item number 2, status reports related to river-related projects from Bureau of Engineering, City Planning, and CRA.
Okay, like to come on up, folks? There's enough chairs for everybody now. It's okay. You could be the first one.
Claire Bowen, City Planning. I guess by default I'm going first.
Okay.
So, maybe just to continue what some of the words that Patrick was talking about, I was just going to share with you. We have invited this evening a lot of the different locations that the kids identified along the trails, folks in the different museums and the parks, to come and start to learn about what is going on. And so we're hoping that they'll be partners with us, in the future in helping really make these trails kind of come into fruition. There's copies of the invite to tonight's event on the back table. So if anyone is interested, we'd love to see you out there. We're also hoping that this really can become a model not only for how we connect to our national parks, but really connecting to all of our parks throughout the city, especially in a city that's so park poor. We really can help people understand by connecting through existing roadway systems how they can really connect to the existing green infrastructure that we do have. So we're really excited about this as a model of connectivity for our city. So we're excited about that.
Somehow we have to get that information to our grammar schools, our middle schools, our high schools, so they can know what's around them, not just gangs and whatnot.
Absolutely. I mean, I think about the Ann Street Elementary School that's really so close to the Los Angeles State Historic Park today, and yet doesn't really have an opportunity to access that park. And it's one of the things we obviously want to help promote, them having more connectivity to it, and start to make them the physical improvements also to facilitate folks getting across streets and things like that to those places. I'll just give a quick update where we are with the Cornfield Arroyo Seco specific plan. As many of you know, we did have some scoping meetings in November. We had 2 scoping meetings that introduced to the community the idea of expanding the area to include being a redevelopment project area, which is why we went back out and did those scoping meetings. We had about 30 or 40 folks come to those different meetings. We got some good comments from the community, which is we'll be incorporating into the draft environmental impact report that is currently being developed by our consultant, ARUP, right now. We're still on track to release that draft environmental impact report to the public on May 1st. The draft specific plan will also be officially out for public comment at that time as well. So we're still kind of hoping to have that in front of council by September of this year, which is really exciting for us.
Wow, that'd be amazing.
Yeah.
We'll keep our fingers crossed.
Yes, thank you. And then kind of finally, and then we're also asked to report on the River Improvement Overlay District, which we did have those substantial comments from the city attorney's office, and we're working with your office to look at how we might make modifications to meet the needs of the city attorney, but also satisfy all of our own objectives for what we want, what that vision is for that River Improvement Overlay District. So hopefully we'll be back to you sometime in the near future with some suggested improvements for that.
Right. And I think part of that discourse, so that we don't frighten or intimidate or dissuade investment, that we are trying to actually make it much more predictable in how we shape the urban form around the river corridor through the design guidelines, and it can be actually a big plus in how they can move their business in the city.
Right.
So that's something we need to figure out how to amplify.
Right.
But I appreciate that.
And it's a balance in terms of what you can require somebody to do, especially on by right projects, but then also maybe have some guidelines along with some standards we think are important. So.
Great.
Thank you.
Well, thank you. Thank you for your hard work. We have with us Redevelopment Agency and the Bureau of Engineering. Good afternoon, Ms. Weintraub.
Good afternoon, Council Member. Deborah Weintraub from the Bureau of Engineering.
And Larry Hsu from the Bureau of Engineering.
Mr. Hsu.
So you mentioned as you started the meeting about our visit
Yes.
the last week from the Major General Grisoli. The feedback I've gotten was that it was a very good meeting. Thank you very much for sitting with us the entire time.
No, it was important.
It was very important. And we will follow up with our local core office and with the office in San Francisco and D.C. to see where we can go.
I think we said they asked about 4 times, maybe 5?
Yeah, right.
2.6, right?
Right, 2.6, right. I think we got the message across. That was an important visit. The other kind of milestone event since we last reported was that we had the first official meeting of the River Cooperation Committee, which is the joint committee of the county and the city, with the Corps participating as an interested party. And it took a lot of work to get to this point. There was one project presented, the Aliso Creek Confluence Project, and the Joint Committee recommended that it proceed as it was presented. So that's important. The next meeting for the River Cooperation Committee is, I'm sorry, the next meeting is?
I think it's April 4th.
4th.
Yes.
We're hearing from the back of the room,
Thank
right?
you.
All right, Dr. Armstrong, comes through again.
And I know that Councilman Labange, I just wanted to reiterate that the Universal Master Plan Draft EIR is out for comment. The due date for comments from the public is February 4th.
February 4th,
Yeah.
all right.
And then with that, I'm going to turn it over to Larry and ask him to pick up some other items.
Just mention one more thing on the regular ad hoc report is we have an upcoming river update meeting scheduled for Thursday, February 10th from 6 to 8:30 p.m. at the office of Councilman Zine in the Valley. We have cards at the back of the room that have the details of that meeting.
Great. So the meeting will be in, is it Canoga Park? Reseda.
Yeah.
All right.
Next item is not on our report. At the last ad hoc meeting, Councilman Labange asked for an update of the bikeway lighting and copper theft.
Right.
So I talked to the Bureau of Street Lighting, who is leading efforts to replace that copper, and what they report was that over the last 3 or 4 years, all the wire between Riverside and Fletcher Drive has been stolen, replaced, and stolen again. And they have installed reinforced composite pole boxes at the north end near Farrow Fields, and they're in the process of installing solar-powered lights that don't require copper and for the rest of the path, with the exception of areas that are covered with trees, and those will have to be wired. They're in the process of procuring these lights, and they're projected to start that replacement in mid-March, and
Right.
with a duration of half a year or so.
But that leads to the natural question of security cameras, but that means money, and so we have to wait for that. But I think that I'm assuming it would make it that much more safe for folks to ride their bikes and take advantage of the corridor if we had security cameras. But the flip side is more people are saying, oh, there's Big Brother again looking at everything and looking at us everywhere. So we have to find a balancing point. But hopefully are the lights working now?
No, they're in small sections, but they're in the process of replacing.
Okay.
I think the lights along that new portion, Legion Bikeway.
So I'm assuming that when they stole them the second time, we learned how they actually got to it. So how we prevent it is going to be another key. Okay.
Yeah, the hope is the solar lights don't require as much conductors and copper, so.
It's be less attractive.
But yes, less attractive.
Well, good. Okay. Well, thank you very much again. I think it was important that the Army Corps hear just how far along we've gone as a city, and what a pivotal role they play, and what couldn't happen without your department and all your good work and making sure we were in a position to get them to understand just how serious we are in making this a long-term goal in creating this facility. Dr. Armstrong.
Hi. Good afternoon, Councilman. Carol Armstrong, Bureau of Engineering. I just wanted to make one verbal correction to the written report that the Mayor's office has decided to change the LA River Day of Service from March 12th to April 30th to coincide with the annual cleanup
Okay.
done by Friends of the Los Angeles River.
Okay, that's good leveraging. Good move. All right. Thank you very much. Thank you. All right. And we have the CRA with us. Good afternoon.
Good afternoon, Jason Neville, planner at CRA.
Hey, guys.
As I mentioned briefly, the update on the CASP redevelopment project area. As Claire mentioned, we're moving forward the EIR for both the specific plan and the redevelopment plan concurrently, and we expect to have something in front of City Planning Commission in the fall of this year. The boundaries have been slightly modified from the redevelopment plan. So on the north side near the 110 freeway, so a portion of the CASP specific plan will actually be in the Northeast LA River project area, which Allison will talk about in a second. We have hired the firm Tierra West to prepare the redevelopment plan, so we're moving forward. We intend to begin a round of intensive outreach in February next month. We've mailed out applications for folks from the business residential community to serve on the Community Advisory Committee, which is the community committee that will help formulate the implementation plan and the goals. So they'll begin meeting in March and setting an agenda for the work plan that will help implement the vision of the specific plan.
Great. Hi.
Good afternoon, Allison Becker, city planner with the redevelopment agency in the Hollywood region. Here today to talk about the, pardon me, the Northeast Los Angeles River Corridor Study Area, which for those who are not familiar is a 2,300 acre study area with boundaries which overlap portions of 4 communities: Atwater Village, Elysian Valley, Cypress Park, and Glassell Park.
Right.
We're about a year into our study process, and I have just a few items to update over the last couple months for our activities. We are currently recruiting for a steering committee, which will help the redevelopment agency formulate its redevelopment plan and our initial 5-year work plan. The applications were released in December, and the deadline for applications is at the end of this week, Friday the 28th. So we would encourage folks who are interested in participating on the steering committee to to let us know and to submit their applications.
And my understanding is that the local community centers and neighborhood facilities applications are there, they're well aware. And
Yes, we've been doing a series of recruitments through our local community-based organizations, as well as neighborhood councils and our interested parties list.
right, so everything's above board, transparent, or accepting anybody that wants to be interested.
Absolutely.
Beautiful.
As part of our due diligence and environmental review process, we're going to be conducting a historic resource survey, and our consultant team for that survey has been selected, and we're hoping to begin the survey within the study area in about 30 to 45 days. That consultant team will coordinate closely with the existing Department of City Planning Survey LA process to make sure that any information that comes out of this process supports the citywide Survey LA project. We're hoping to have our preliminary plan, which is really the initial formal trigger for the timeline for plan adoption, and have that presented to the Planning Commission this spring. So in other words, most of our due diligence and our refinement of our proposed boundaries will be taking place over the next 3 to 4 months. We mentioned at our last briefing to this committee that we were very delighted at the announcement of a large HUD Community Planning Challenge grant that we were awarded to help support our efforts in the LA River Corridor Study area. We received the required authorization from our board to accept the funds on December 16th, and this same report will be moving through the council and committee process this week, Wednesday at HCED and Friday at City Council. We continue to publish a monthly newsletter with information about our activities. I can leave some on the back counter. I neglected to leave them out at the beginning. And our January publication was just released late last week. And I guess I would just like to close with a few thoughts from area stakeholders. We did a series of open houses in November, and one of our information gathering projects is an opinion survey trying to set the baseline with folks telling us what they like about their communities, what's maybe not working in their communities, good attributes, bad attributes, for lack of a better word. Our very small sample nonetheless kind of teased out a number of interesting things that folks feel strongly about in their community. In terms of good features, folks really cherish their unique architecture, the mature kind of urban environment, landscaping, trees, the fact that we have local community institutions nested into neighborhoods like schools, local post offices, community centers, etc. People do feel that vandalism and crime, the deteriorated condition of streets and sidewalks, lack of employment, homelessness, and deteriorating buildings are some of the features that they really would like the city to be focusing on. In terms of top areas for improvement, reducing crime clearly continues to be a strong priority for area residents, creating better access to quality grocery stores and restaurants, creating more open space, parks, urban plazas, improving sidewalk, streets, and curbs, and finally adding bicycle lanes were all things that local area residents identified as being priorities for investment in their communities. And I guess fortunate for us, all of those types of things are things that redevelopment can help to address. So that's what I have for you.
I want to thank you for your hard work, and again, I think the creation of jobs in an area where you have up to 50% dropout rates at the high school level, we need to be able to build up that infrastructure that speaks to options and how they see themselves in the future as in their careers or in this era of technology, how we engage them and bring them into employment, and how we invite investment so that we can absorb that labor force is important. So critical to the notion of desirability is how we get to that level of investment. In terms of written reports, if we can get written reports for this committee, I would very much appreciate that as well.
Mm-hmm.
And that way we can keep that on the record and move things forward. So, CRA, thank you so much. You guys done a tremendous job, and again, making a big difference. Thank you. So that covers Bureau of Engineering, City Planning Department, and CRA. We've been given their status reports, and thank you for that hard work. Next item?
We should.
Note and file. Okay. God.
Next item is
was
City Administrative
quick, guys.
Officer quarterly reports
Okay.
related to River Project.
Good afternoon, ma'am.
I'm Lori Hancock with the CAO, and I'm here to talk about the projects that the city is undertaking that are part of the River Revitalization Plan.
Great.
The information that's provided in the report comes from the various departments that run the programs that are overseeing the projects, and that would include Sanitation, Transportation, Department of Water and Power, and Bureau of Engineering. There are currently 42 projects on the list.
Bring the microphone a little bit
Oh,
closer.
yeah.
We can hear you better. There you
I
go.
speak softly.
There you go.
There are $989 million worth of total scopes for these projects. During the current year, they anticipate spending $60 million. The majority of the projects are bridges. There are 23, and we'll be spending totally $699 million on these projects, 33 this year. A number of new things that have happened since I reported last. The North Atwater Creek Restoration Project, which is being done in conjunction with the North Atwater Park, started construction in October. It's expected to take a year. It's going to be a $6.5 million project.
Great.
And that will restore the riparian component, and it's going to daylight a creek that is existing in the area.
Fantastic.
Additional to that, the Los Angeles River Bike Path Phase 1C was completed, and they had their opening in December, and
Right.
that was open to the public.
That was after, what, 15 years of work?
It was a long time.
Legal work?
Yes.
I recall working on 1991, so that's a major milestone, so thank you.
Yes. The Los Angeles River West Valley Greenway is going to be done in, it's moving forward. It's going to be done in 3 different components, and I wanted to call your attention to that because I moved it from the bridge group into the parks. The bridge group is overseeing that. It has ARA monies going into it as well, and they're working on getting that started. Phase 1, I believe, is currently out to bid.
Fantastic.
We've completed 16 projects for a total of $76 million over the course of the time that we've been recording this. So we are making quite a bit of progress, and they're listed here in the report for your review.
Fantastic. And that's the clicking sound of progress, so it's good to have people be aware that there is real progress occurring, and perhaps it's not in the biggest splash or scale as some want it, but it is incrementally occurring, so thank you very much. Thank you for your hard work. And that we will note and file, correct?
Yeah.
Well, see, I'm learning. All right, next item.
Number 4, Department of Water and Power quarterly status report regarding rights of ways, projects, or associate their rights with regard to maintain the department's right of ways along the LA River.
Great. Good afternoon, sir.
Good afternoon. My name is Nick Demas from the Department of Water and Power, Power System, and I'm here to report on the work performed to maintain the department's right-of-way along the river. And we prepared a memo, and we submitted it. Basically, on October 8th of 2010, we performed some work along the LA River and did weed abatement and debris removal.
Okay, so basic maintenance.
Basic maintenance, yes.
Is that for like the power lines?
It's on the easements where the power lines are located, yes.
Okay, so who can we meet with to discuss something more and beyond when it comes to that type of work?
How much more and beyond are we talking about?
Well, tell me, who do I need to speak to?
Good question.
Okay, I put you on the
yes.
spot here, but
Yeah, it did. It did, because I work with the operation and maintenance group, and there's also the real estate group that is in charge of all the real estate.
How about both?
Well, we can arrange a meeting with both if you'd like to, but I'm not sure if I can give you a specific name.
Okay, we'll do our research and we'll do this separately, but I think you know where I'm going.
I think so.
Okay, so let's follow up and figure this out. But I do appreciate the fact that the property we do control in the Department of Water and Power is now being cleaned up more frequently. Can we say that?
I can say that we're paying a lot of attention to clean it up whenever we see problems, and more frequently we're out there looking every quarter to see if there's any type of issues to clean up.
See, the link I think we need to strengthen is the question, problems for whom? Problems for Department of Water and Power versus problems for the corridor, for the public. I mean, that's a question we need to engage. Because I understand your mission, and you're doing your job, and I applaud you. But I think this is about how do we create a more inviting environment, safer, so we can trigger not only investment, but a sense of place for an underused corridor that can use this investment. And so that, to me, is where we need to be. And I know that's probably out of the bailiwick that's been created for the functions that you perform, but I think that's how the city gets out of this hole, is that we start working together to figure out how we bring together an asset base that has a multiplier effect, both from a health point of view, recreational, but from an economic point of view. And that's what where I'm trying to get at. So,
Okay.
Again, I don't want to put you on the spot, but
We'll continue to meet with Lupe in the interim and try to
Okay.
single out a certain person you can speak with.
okay, that'd be great. I know you got your new department head, and he just came on board last week, so I understand.
Yeah. Okay, thank you.
Well, thank you, sir. Anything else you want to add?
No?
Okay, thank you. So we'll note and file that report as well. Okay, our next item.
Number 5, this item was continued from your November 15th meeting. Rec and Parks to provide a verbal report relative to the feasibility of establishing a pilot non-motorized boating program on the river.
This is exciting. Come on up. Good afternoon, sir.
Good afternoon, Councilman. Kevin Regan, Assistant General Manager with the Department of Recreation and Parks. Just wanted to come this afternoon to your committee and give you a verbal update on some of the things that we're doing with this project. As you know, we've already briefed you and did a PowerPoint presentation. And in November, we met with a very large group of folks, everyone from the Army Corps of Engineers to people from city planning, Recreation and Parks, Fire Department, Police Department, many other pertinent departments. Lupe was there, and we discussed the overall topic of the non-motorized boating, really kayaking or rowboating, canoeing in the river. And we came up with a lot of ideas. We split off into two subcommittees. Since then, one of the subcommittees has met. It was a little tough over the holidays getting everybody together, but we did have a meeting. I give a lot of credit to Lupe for working hard to put that together. Just give you a quick briefing on some of the things that were discussed in the subcommittee and some of the things that we're moving towards. It'd just be a couple of items.
Sure.
The subcommittee met to discuss locations. And the two locations that we're looking at as being the most viable right now for the boating is a course within the Sepulveda Basin, which we showed you in the PowerPoint presentation at your last meeting, and also another course which you recommended, which is in the area known as the Glendale Narrows. We're looking at the length of the season that we would be able to perform this program. That season will be late spring to early fall. We looked at the various types of equipment that's necessary, the types of kayaks to be used, the vehicles that will be needed to transport the equipment from the point of origin and then pick up the kayakers and take them back to that location. We looked at the participant to instructor ratio and determined that would be 1 instructor to 12 participants. We determined that the trip duration would be about 3 to 4 hours. This would include outfitting, as well as the paddling session and the return to the point of origin. This program of kayaking or canoeing would also contain an educational component, which would be done by professionals that have some type of background in biology or other types of earth science. And then we talked about the price for the program, marketing, advertising, outreach to the public for safety, continued meeting with a group of safety professionals, fire department, lifeguards, and others, police, to make sure that we remain safe and that the public doesn't start to think that it's safe to just go in the river at any time.
Right.
And then one of the most exciting things is that John Kapitsky, who's one of our aquatics directors, one of our lifeguards who you've met, is planning another exploratory trip in the Glendale Narrows area on January 27th, and he'll be doing a walkthrough and determining whether or not they can get any boats in the water. And so we're moving forward and continue to follow your guidance on getting these boats and this program started.
So I see council members on a boat, like crossing the Delaware.
Yeah. We could do that if you want to. we'll just have to.
We'll have a mayor there, of course.
We'll have to when you stand up, and point, we'll have to hold your leg.
All right. No, but thank you for that hard work. I know John Kapitsky has been very diligent, and it's a matter of how we get the information as he moves all the stuff up through all the different decision makers. But I know he's been very energetic, and I appreciate his energy. I think the quicker we get folks to see the river as it could be in the future, I think the greater we'll have a sense of confidence that this is real. One of the things that I'm fighting is people say, well, how much longer do you have, Councilmember? I said, about 2.5 years. And what happens to the river? I said, oh, the river's been there for centuries. But the fact is, its future really lays on the institutionalization of these changes, both economically, from a investment point of view, from a zoning point of view, from a recreation point of view. And so you're laying down the foundation for that, and for that I thank you and your department, because in these very turbulent times, you still have that focus, and you're making it happen, and I can't tell you how appreciative I am of that. And I think the future kids, the kids of the future won't have to be jumping in there, putting their lives in their hands, knowing that they have a structured program. And that means a lot for a lot of thousands of kids that are in that corridor. So anything else you'd like to add or ask?
No, just to let you know that your basic request to us was just get started and let's work out a program. So we're hammering it out, and I think that hopefully soon we'll have the whole framework together for a program that we can start to.
And it just might become a revenue base.
Well, I'd hope so, yeah. At least, I mean, our goal would be that it would be cost neutral. At least, okay. I mean, even if it wasn't a revenue generator, at least if it could pay it for all of its own costs, including, of course, as you know, in recreation and parks today, the department is paying all of its indirects. We're paying, flex benefits for employees. We're paying electrical, water. We're paying all of that. Right. So we have to be able to recoup all those costs.
Okay. Well, we'll keep pushing hard, and thank you again, and especially working through the holidays. Thank you so much, sir.
Thank you for your guidance.
Thank you. Okay, we'll note and file that report as well.
It's just an update.
An update? Okay. So our next item?
Verbal update from the River Revitalization Corporation.
Okay, and we had some introductions, I believe. Come on down. Good afternoon, Mr. Talalian.
Good afternoon. How are you?
Okay, let me congratulate you on the chairmanship of the River Corporation.
Thank you. I appreciate that.
Be careful what you ask for. Okay. So please.
Sure, really quickly, and probably for as much for the benefit of the audience as yourself. I know you're on top of what we're doing, but a couple things that are going on. I don't need to explain the corporation, but I'm now sitting as board chair. We've added a ninth, and for the time being, final member to the board, Mr. Howard Katz, who is joined, who brings a wealth of experience around affordable housing, connections to county government, and a real drive to find revenue-generating ways of producing alternative income for the River Corp. So we're going to slot him in some of those activities. We're very happy to have him.
Great.
We're even more happy to have a new executive director hired, Mr. Omar Brownson,
all right.
who I'll be turning the mic over to in a moment so that he can brief the audience. But
we'll get the trumpets ready.
Yes.
All right.
We're very excited. His blend of entrepreneurism, finance, real estate, sustainable environmental activity on a variety of levels. We're very excited for his skills and his network, and I'll turn that over to him. Lastly, just for the audience, to give a quick primer on really what you can expect from the River Corporation. We're just starting our second year, and we're trying, I think we got it out of neutral and into first gear in our first year, and we're looking to upshift absolutely in our second year. What I would say that you could expect from us is one, proof of concept, meaning to show you some real estate activities that we can bring to bear to help folks further envision what the corporation's capable of. Second, and perhaps most importantly, exploring within fundraising how to find sustainable sources of revenue for the River Corporation such that we can really carry out the types of activities that a number of parallel River Corps have done across the nation, and to identifying what is that sustainable source of income so we can do some good damage along the river to the concrete walls. And then finally, as already is happening here with good work, to raise the awareness of the river and the River Corporation, both to the general public as well as to the private sector, who I think hasn't been fully tapped and excited about what's going on.
Beautiful.
Okay.
All right. Good
With
job.
that, I'm going to turn it over to Omar, because he's going to really be your quarterly report
right.
and your point of contact. Omar?
Thank you, Councilman. Omar Brownson, Executive Director of the Los Angeles River Revitalization Corporation.
Welcome, sir.
Thank you. It's an honor. I'm very excited to get going. As Daniel mentioned, this brings together a lot of my personal, professional interests, from building affordable housing to working with Henry Cisneros at City View and directing close to $2 billion of real estate activity in urban areas throughout the country. It's exciting to be able to do this here at home. There's been a tremendous amount of vision from the master plan on down to get the LA River Revitalization Corporation going. I'm looking forward to this second chapter of the organization, and that really is translating a lot of that vision into action. Right. I've only been on the job for less than a week, but I did have my first board meeting last Wednesday, and I committed to the board a 90-day plan. First 30 days is obviously getting a lay of the land. The board is eager to meet. I'm actually meeting with 8 of my 9 board members this week alone. After 30 days, I hope to sort of start sketching out a first-year annual plan for the executive director, focusing on everything from our marketing outreach, organizational development, moving on projects, and fundraising ultimately. And then finally, within 90 days, I'd like to have a business plan that sketched out that really pulls together where we can align our mission, our resources, and our limited capacity, but align all those 3 things so that within the first 6 months, we have a plan that's adopted by the board that we can present to you that really pulls together all our efforts. This is my 3rd startup or expansion of an organization, both in the public and nonprofit sectors and private sectors. The key in any startup is that there's a lot of excitement, there's a lot of vision, but there's limited resources, and so how you prioritize that resource is the most important thing that I can bring to bear at this point.
Right. And I need to just reinforce, without the CRA, a lot of this work would not be possible. I want to thank again the CRA for their significant role in this process. And just as important is that we went through a lot of effort to make sure that we understood where the stakeholders along the river want to see housing, where they want to preserve open space. Therefore, the master plan is our guide in how we sustain that level of confidence in how we treat our stakeholders. And it's not like we're going to build housing overnight or the trails or all the different open space opportunities. They each will have their process, they'll have their public hearings, their public input. I want to do everything transparent. I know many folks, when they hear what you just said, would say, oh my God, they're going to fill the river with housing. That's not what we're saying. What we're saying is we're going to open up access points for community engagement so we can define where housing can go based on how these master plans have been developed, based on the priorities set by them. But we need a quarterback. We need a team that could be light at their feet, very nimble in how we move transactions, and coupled with planning department, Bureau of Engineering, CRA, we can actually see real results within a short time, relatively speaking. So from that point of view, I just want to share those thoughts with you and thank you for coming to the table and actually taking on this role. It's an exciting one, and everything you do right now, we will be feeling it 5-10 years from now. So how we set this up is going to be crucial, and you're right at the driver's seat from that point of view, as far as the River Corporation goes. But I'm hoping through this committee, we can continue to coordinate with the city family and the different entities to make sure we're on pace and we're communicating, because you can see there's many layers of work occurring, from the bridges to the bike paths to the zoning to the whole investment strategy through the CRA. I mean, it's all layered out, and how we interface with each other is crucial. And so I thank you for that hard work. Anything else you'd like to add?
I'm ready to get going.
All right, and then go. All right, guys. Thank you so much. And do we know and file this one?
It's just a presentation.
Presentation, all right. So I want to make sure I don't blow that. All right. Our next item?
Presentation by Los Angeles Conservation Corps River Keepers relative to ongoing river maintenance efforts.
All right, River Keepers.
Where's your blue shirts?
I know. So what happened to the blue shirts?
Oops.
We got to get you some more, huh? How you guys doing?
Fine, thank you. Good afternoon. My name is Jasmine Mero Corona. I'm with the Los Angeles Conservation Corps River Keeper Program and River Ambassadors. This is our program manager, Maribel Briseño.
Good afternoon, everyone. Maribel Briseño.
Welcome.
Thank you.
I'd just like to thank everyone for giving us this continued opportunity. It's, I believe, our third year they're going to working on the river. It's such a great opportunity. It's such a grand revitalization project going on there, giving many the opportunity, especially the youth within our program, to be able to be part of this revitalization plan. As we know, our river keepers provide the following essential services along the river. That's recycling awareness through educational components such as PowerPoint presentations and information booths at events, and participating in public events out like in the convention center and stuff. We have a watershed education that we provide to our teams and also school children that we come across or we go to, teaching them about the river hydrology, ecology, and water quality best management practices. We do native plant landscaping. We remove also we do weed abatement. We help maintain some of the pocket parks throughout the area.
Hopefully I'm not putting you on the spot here, but when we talk about numbers, do you have any reference to numbers as to the level of impacts?
Yes, I do. I do have some towards the back. And just throughout the restoration project, we do have 2 teams that have worked this year. They're between 7 to 9 members of our crews, and then we have our 2 river ambassadors. Through the month of, actually we did our annual there. We collect about approximately 350,000 pounds of trash from the river.
Is that a month, a day, a week?
No, that was throughout the year. Throughout the year, we did approximately maintenance of about 284,150 square feet of the river and riverbed. Removed about 110,839 square feet of graffiti. Removed trash, debris, and plastic from along the storm drains. So we do maintain the storm drains of the streets adjacent to the river. We schedule riverbed cleanups where we actually go into the river bed and remove trash from there. That includes a lot of the plastic, styrofoam, and actually we'd kind of like even separate that just to get an idea of what kind of trash is actually found inside the river. We've done several presentations to the school-age children. We're currently finishing a 3-day series of presentations with Alessandro Elementary. We're actually visiting all the classrooms there. We'll be starting another session with Our Lady of Guadalupe and our Doris Elementary, which we're visiting and doing presentations about the importance of recycling and maintaining your streets cleaned. Even though you're not adjacent to the river, everything ends up there, and how it impacts our environment and then our oceans.
That's fun. Okay.
Last year we reached about 50,000 participants, and that's through either our cleanups, our putting up of booths at events, participating in Water World Day at the Science Center. We also did one of the big events where they had about 8,000 high school students was at the Convention Center, which was, I can't think of it.
8,000 high school students?
Yeah.
Environmental Day, wasn't it?
Yeah, it was at, what was the name of it? A World We Can Change, there we go.
A
And it
World
was
We
a
Can
poetry
Change.
center,
That was
yeah.
the theme,
It was
okay.
about 8,000 students there, so we actually had one big booth there, and they really liked our thing because we have this wheel where they ask questions, and we give them candy or the river posters and stuff. So
Right.
those are the numbers for this year, and we're looking forward to continuing this work effort and being part of this great revitalization plan along the river.
I know Public Works is a big reason why we can do this. I want to thank the department because they made it happen. And continued success. And it's interesting. I think when did we have that? When we had the high school students at the convention center, 3 years ago?
No, 2006
2006. Wow.
was the original idea.
So in 2006, we had hundreds and hundreds of high school kids, and I ran into a student who's now finishing college, and he's starting his own, like a chapter about the river at the graduate school level in his studies. So these are profound impacts you're making on youth, and it carries. So congratulations to both of you on such good work.
Thank you.
And anything else you'd like to add? No. How many students are on the crew now?
Right now we have 8.
8?
Our supervisor plus our 2 river ambassadors.
So all the debris, all the trash you're capturing now upstream, the cities downstream, that's less that they feel.
Definitely.
You know, not only in the rains, but during the dry season as well, right?
Yes.
And our coral reefs have a better chance of surviving because of it. Great.
Yeah.
Thank you very much. Good job, guys. Our next item? Oh, that was it. Now, no one's signed up cards for public speaking? Oh, okay, great. I do want to acknowledge and thank from Fran Pavley's office, Jason Levin. Jason, are you here? Thank you, sir. Didn't mean to put you on the spot. Want to share any words of wisdom or any observations, or you don't have to. All right. No, River Lee. All right, guys. Well, thank you very much. Appreciate you being here, and we look forward.
Announcements?
Oh, we do have announcements. Thank you, Lupe. Several announcements, and these are exciting. We have, as been indicated, annual river update meeting scheduled Thursday, February 10th, over at Councilmember Dennis Zine's district office community room. So that should be very exciting, and we're being as, how can I say this, as focused throughout the river corridor as we can be. The CRA, Northeast Alley Steering Committee, applications are due January 28th. Thank you again for that. The Mayor's Los Angeles River Day of Service is now scheduled for Saturday, April 3rd.
30th.
30th. Okay, 2011. It's the same day as Folar's Gran Limpieza. Then we have the River Revitalization Corporation's next board meeting is scheduled for Wednesday, February 16th. So that we'll see more progress there. And then River Cooperation Committee is April 4th, July 5th, and October 3rd at 1 p.m. The RCC is a joint working group comprised of the LA County Flood Control District and the City of LA in conjunction with the United States Army Corps of Engineers. It is part of a 3-tier management structure, the River Revitalization Program, in addition to the River Revitalization Corporation and a future foundation. The committee meets to coordinate and evaluate projects along the upper reach of Los Angeles River. And we also have the Los Angeles County Bicycle Coalition Annual River Ride. That's on June 5th. Over 2,000 riders participate in a variety of rides, from a kids' ride to a century 100-mile ride. All of these activities will be on our website, www.lariver.org. And seeing no one here for public comment, this meeting is adjourned. Thank you very much.